Hey everybody, John Cheryl here with Cruise Addicts, along with Don of EatSleepCruise.com, and so happy to have you here. I hope you're buckled up because we got a lot to share with you today. Me and Don have both been on cruises. We're a little spoiled, we got to admit it, but we got to tell you about those things. Also, we got some cruise news. I mean, there's a whole Pizzagate thing going on that we're hearing about on the internet. I don't really know all the details, but I know Don's been following it closely. He likes pizza. He has a pizza problem.
I do have opinions on pizza. I don't know if Pizzagate's the best. That just brings up memories of like political things. But yeah, lots going on, John. It's good to see you as always.
Yes. How is it over there where you are today, Don?
It was not a great day. It was rainy and stuff. I wish I were on a cruise. So as you mentioned, we just got back from a cruise a couple weeks ago. You just got back a couple weeks ago. Kind of two totally different types of cruise experiences, but happy to share all of them with folks. Let us know in the comment section below when you're going on a cruise, or if you have a question about, I guess, either one of the itineraries we'll be talking about today, ships, cruise lines, anything's game, right?
Yeah, of course, the heading for everything we sent out to everybody is it's a live Q&A. So if you have any questions, we'd love to give you our opinions and our answers as best we can. And of course, we love how the audience members, we don't claim to know it all, at least on these days. But so we have a lot of times people in the chat will actually have better answers or contribute things, and we'll of course share that as well. But thank you all for being here. Please give us a like, give us a thumbs up, please give subscribe. We really appreciate it, so we can do more of these wonderful things. And so wow, where do you want to begin, Don? You want to talk about your trip that you just took with the princess?
We talked about both our trips. Yeah, I think, like I said, a little bit different. We just got back from Bermuda, so we were on Norwegian Joy. It's the largest ship that Norwegian has going. Actually, it's going to be one of the largest ships that goes to Bermuda regularly. It goes there this time of year. Bermuda's a seasonal port, so a 7-night round trip from our old stopping grounds, New York City. We spent some time there together, John.
Yeah, I love New York City. And is that like a big reason to go? Like if you're not from that area, I know you're from Boston area, but if you're not from that area, is it really worth flying into New York City and taking a cruise to Bermuda?
That's a great question. There were plenty. So we drove, as John mentioned, we're from Boston area. So with traffic, 4-ish hours to get there, which wasn't bad. They actually have parking right next to the terminal, which you can pre-book. So super convenient. There are ships out of Boston, but I would say Joy was a better choice for us to go than some of the ships that go. I think so. Bermuda's beautiful island. It's only in the summer, so it's not as far south as the Caribbean or the Bahamas. So it's not somewhere you would go in January. Like you could fly to Miami and go to the Southern Caribbean or Eastern Caribbean. There's only the window basically May to, I think they go through the end of September, maybe October to Bermuda. But I definitely think so. It's a beautiful island, great beaches. The people there are super friendly. It felt very safe because with that cruise, it's the only island you go to. You're there 2 nights. So, and the ship's open, they let you get on and off whenever you want. So if you want to go to the bars or clubs or do whatever, we don't do that, but we did like a night excursion, which was fun, but I think you'd be super safe. I definitely think it's worth it. And they have packages fly. We had some folks from England we talked to, a couple of folks from the middle of the country that decided to come to New York. Plus you get to see New York. Yeah. So a lot of folks fly in a couple of days before, you get to see New York, do the round trip. It's a round trip to New York and then fly home.
Okay. So how was the ship?
So Norwegian Joy, it's one of, again, Norwegian's largest ships. It's the Breakaway Plus class. We had actually just sailed on Encore 2 months ago, a month and a half ago. So very similar if anyone's ever been on Encore or Bliss. Joy is a sister ship of those ships. But it's got a little bit different flair to it. It was originally built for the Asian market. So it's got some different vent pools in like a little bit weirder area. There's no thermal suite, but it still has the racetrack, laser tags, plenty of specialty dining. So all in all, it does give you that Norwegian freestyle experience.
You know, with all the Norwegian cruises you've done lately, is there some kind of like tidbit that you can tell me and the audience, you know, that a lot of people might not know about taking a Norwegian cruise? Because I know every time I take a cruise or the brand, you kind of learn something new every time. I don't mean to put you on the spot, but is there anything that stands out in your mind?
John, never put me on a spot. I'm just going to ask you the same thing about Hal, because I know you were just on Holland America Line. Yeah. So a couple of things I would say about Norwegian is, even though it's freestyle dining, you can book in advance. You know, Heidi and I were over planners. Yeah. We're not one. Some folks just like to show up and be like, oh, where do you want to eat today? And they have boards throughout that kind of tell you how busy restaurants are, when you get on board, you can use the app to look at stuff too. The app's pretty good. But we pre-book a couple of restaurants before we get on the ship.
Yeah.
If you have a dining package, you don't have to worry about it. The credits will show in your account, so you don't have to. Back in the old days, you'd like pay up front, and then they give you the credit on the ship because you had the dining package. None of that is like that. They'll see your dining package and everything works. So I would pre-book a couple things and the show. So the mega ships there have some great signature entertainment, but I recommend booking them before because they do fill up and sell out, and then you have to go standby.
Okay. Yeah. We don't want to do that, do we?
No, I don't want to go standby. That line, that standby line, I would just walk by. They scan your card. You have a reservation, and it's difficult. One show got canceled on our cruise. One of the performers got injured, which we never want to happen.
Yeah.
And that was like, it's even more important to have reservations because that other that show that was canceled, everyone from that show wanted to get to the other show. We got lucky that we had bookings for the other show, and the theater was the fullest I'd ever seen it. Like every seat was taken.
Wow. That's great though. So, I mean, you know, I love Norwegian, and it's still kind of a newer brand to me, but me and my wife both want to we haven't brought our daughters on there or my son. We like to go with the family because we really do like has more of a premium feeling, you know, especially on that class of ship, the Norwegian Breakaway Plus. We really like that. And it's got, of course, they really do spoil you in a lot of ways. I love the different areas. So I can tell why you're doing it, you know, so much Norwegian.
It's definitely good for maybe not so much for little kids. I know your kids are a little bit older.
Yeah.
I would definitely say there's more things for them to do. Like I said, the racetrack, there's the laser tag, they have the Galaxy Pavilion. They're getting rid of some of those venues, but I still say there's other things like the local has a little arcade next to it, and just some of the other features of their newer mega ships. Like Viva just came out, right? Viva just set sail, which actually, even though it's a newer ship, it's smaller than this class. But they have tons of activities on that class of ship too, with this racetrack. the Speedway, excuse me. Heidi hates when I call it the racetrack. It's the Speedway. The Speedway, they have mini golf. They have an outdoor thing called the Stadium that has ping pong, beer pong, no beer. So they have they have darts on that ship too. So I think Norwegian definitely a premium feel, but I would say it's better if your kids are a little bit older. Yeah,
I would agree. I think with what I know, and luckily, you know, my kid they grew up quick. 1 minute they're little, and next minute they're like, you know, driving. So
driving or driving you crazy, either
both.
Both. But now, so you were I know we've done a lot of Alaska cruising. So Bermuda is great time of year to go summer, but on the other side of quite literally the other side of the country, you were sailing on Holland America Line to Alaska again, right?
Yeah, I just got back from the Holland America's Eurodam. I haven't been on a Holland America ship since 2001. The last time was Zuiderdam, way back when, and it was for a short cruise. So this was the first time I took a full-length 7-night cruise with Holland America. It was the 7-day Alaskan Explorer cruise, and it left from Seattle, and it was round trip. So it's also the first time I've ever taken a cruise that left the United States, went to Alaska, of course, is the United States as well, but and came back. A lot of times, you know, you have to go through Vancouver. You leave from Vancouver, you might go to Alaska, and then you got to fly back home, wherever home might be. So to get to my point to this is I really liked it, that it was a shorter flight going to Seattle. I got to see a lot of the really great places. I mean, it went to, first of all, I've never been to Seattle really other than the airport. So to explore Seattle and the Pike's Place Market was really, really cool. Talk about a foodie place, and fresh cherries and flowers. Just the flowers is amazing if you have any time to stay there. If you're a flower person, it's really incredible. So the produce and the food was really neat. Very lively place. But it went to all the best places, I think, in Alaska, Don. You know, Juneau, Glacier Bay, which is now on my list of must-dos, I think, for Alaska. I think I did Hubbard Glacier. Now I've kind of seen different things. I think Glacier Bay is almost a must-do. So Icy Strait Point, I love Icy Strait Point. It's just an unspoiled, beautiful place. Sitka was my first time there. Really liked it. Ketchikan, it was real. I hadn't really experienced as much as I did this time. Really loved it there. I did the Deadliest Catch Alaskan Fisherman Tour. Really, really liked it. That was absolutely incredible. I could go on for that. And
let's talk about because that's one of the things we haven't done yet. I do like Ketchikan. Heidi's not big in. Well, I've never really seen the show, but that just the way they've kind of specially outfitted the boat a little bit, right? So you can kind of see what's going on. So is that it's also premium price. So it's worth it?
It wasn't that bad. I think it was only like $79. which is
What?
which is almost a bargain. Yeah, it's almost positive. I mean, someone could double check without me Googling it, but I think it was pretty affordable. Of all the tours, it was actually one of the most affordable ones around overall. So it was a pretty good value because, Alaska is really expensive. And everybody talks about that, how expensive the tours are. But so Chris Owen, we both know Chris Owen. He was on a cruise and he went to, he did this tour and he was writing, doing daily updates. And I really trust Chris. And he said that the the Alaskan Fisherman Tour was one of the best excursions he's ever been on. And he doesn't talk that way. So I was like, okay. So when I looked at it, then when I was booking the excursions for this cruise, I looked at real closely at actually Holland America's website. And I was looking at the reviews, passenger reviews, and people were echoing the same exact things. This is the best tour I've ever done in my life. We've done this several times, over and over and over again. So I was really intrigued because on the surface, it didn't seem that exciting, but the reality of it was absolutely amazing. The stories, how it's presented, it wasn't, it was very real and genuine compared to a lot of stuff, any touristy thing can seem a little bit cheap, at times, or a little bit gimmicky, or, I'm trying to say, just kind of like, okay, you're just a number. We're just going to shuttle these people through here. No, it was really, really nice. They did a lot of really, everything was just authentic and real and passionate. And you would feel like it was the first time they've ever given this tour. Just really, really wonderful people. If you like the show, to see a crab pot, to be on a real fishing boat in Alaska is just like pinch yourself. And it's very chilled. You can walk around. I'm in the back of the ship, the boat. I'm looking I'm on the bow. People were on the bow of the boat. You could go all around. You could almost walk in the real house if you couldn't, but it was that accessible. It was right there. The captain of the actual boat. They're all seasoned Alaskan fishermen. They've worked with all the big ships and people that we've all the cast and characters that we've learned to love from the Deadliest Catch show. But what the coolest thing about it is this. I'm just going to get to the point to tell you, Don.
Get to the good stuff. Go for it.
Get to the good stuff. So what really makes it like, wow, this is crazy. You might have seen some of my videos, social media. If you haven't, go to CruiseX on Instagram. I've got some different videos and things like that I've shared in Reels. I've got more stuff to come. But and you can see our social media post during the cruise. Little plug there. So, but here's the wow factor. Is they have this boat, because we're in Ketchikan, this boat has an arrangement with some local native Indians. And so it was able to go into Indian native water and near an island there. And they're able to fish. So that's how they're able to actually fish during this off season, because they have the natives in this territorial waters have their own rights, and they can allow them to do things. And one thing they were allowed to do is they would actually take some chum fishes and throw them in the air. Well, and they had permission from the Indians there, and not the Indians, but the native people. It's a proper word. So you had not only do you have fish and everything coming down and jumping, you actually had bald eagles coming down and swooping down and catching the fish. I of course grew up most of my life in Florida. It was equivalent to having seagulls, on a beach, but in this case it was bald eagles. So I've never seen anything in my entire life. It was incredible. I've got some slow motion video because they actually recommended to do that. And that was just the icing on the cake on top of everything else. And I could go on and on and on, but I really think just like a lot of things, you got to experience it. So if you go to Alaska, you go to Ketchikan, I think you could hopefully have a long period of time there. Maybe you could make this part of your day there. And I think you really enjoy yourself.
That's awesome. That's what I said. One thing we haven't done, we've been a little leery because I don't know if something Heidi would enjoy, but definitely not now with your high endorsement there. How can we not do it? Speaking of which, go into some of the comments. We have Norma here is going to Alaska in 10 days. So if you haven't booked that excursion, John highly recommends it. Our good friend from In the Loot Travel, John Roberts, saying hello. Hi to him and his awesome wife. I know John probably travels more than you and I combined. So
yes, John.
As you said earlier, sometimes the folks in the audience know more than we do. So we can always look to John for some answers, right?
Yeah, John at inthelooptravel.com, I believe it is. So yeah, definitely look up John Roberts and follow him. I know he's got a river cruise group coming up.
Oh, that is right. Yeah, check that out. I think it's with a couple other creators too.
Yeah.
Sometimes Sailing, Justin and Lauren, and John from The Loop are doing
Right.
river cruise. I don't remember the dates, but yeah, just Google it or go to John's social, check it out. Someone else going on to Alaska and Encore, which is the sailing we just talked about. Best thing to do in Skagway besides the train. Did this cruise you went on, Hal, go to Skagway? I don't think so. Did it?
No, it didn't go there. So yeah, here's where it went to Seattle, these places right here, Sitka. And yeah, it covered most of the bases as you see, but it didn't go to Skagway. So
that is still a great, you mentioned it earlier, that is really a great itinerary. That's the one thing we always tell folks. We've done some videos on Alaska and folks ask questions. There's a lot of ships to choose from. We'll get to John's experience on board. We're talking about ashore. Focus a little bit more on the itinerary. That's what we usually recommend. This is a great itinerary. Glacier Bay is amazing. Icy Strait, while it's kind of a made-up port, right? It's built by the cruise lines. There's really great whale watching there. And then I like the Zip Rider. I know you did it. You and your wife did it. And then Ketchikan, as you just mentioned. And even, how long were you in Victoria? Was it one of those weird stops? Like later in the day?
It was later in the day, but it was nice because we had a full day, had a lot of presentations. So you had the day to relax. And then after dinner, you went out and you got to experience British Columbia. That's the first time I've ever been there. What a beautiful place that is. And really, really nice people. We had one of the best tour guides I ever had. We did an afternoon tea, but it happened to be later. So we did high tea at this beautiful Victorian home. Go figure, in Victoria, right? And it was really, really good. And we got to go on this top of this overlook and see all of Victoria from a certain vantage point. And the tour guy said, he goes, it's dark. You really can't see it. So let me show you where locals go. When we went up there, it was a Friday night, and we got to look down at the whole city and even the cruise ships. Really, really made for a wonderful evening. Highly recommend it there. Unfortunately, you really can't see it too much at those hours because it really is a kind of I know there's a fancy name for the stops, but it has to visit a foreign country. Right. So, but and we had some new friends that we met that were from Seattle, that they traveled to Victoria, and they were telling us a lot of places to go and see. But what a really cool place. It was a nice taste of it, that, just enough where you want to go back. But I'll share more about the ship itself. What I really, really like about it, first of all, is it's 86,000 tons. So it's just that 86 to 90,000 ton is really a nice sweet spot for me personally. I'm really starting to enjoy that smaller ship feel. It just has a nice vibe. There's really no big lines for anything. Of course, this is a premium cruise line, Holland America. So they did a lot of cool things that I really, really stand out in my mind. A couple things to share was we got on board. It was 11:30 in Seattle. We walk in, and the elevator, they actually were holding elevators, and the crew would get just enough passengers on board in the elevator and take you to your floor. So it was like white glove service almost, getting to your floor. And guess what? The rooms were open at 11:30, the whole ship.
Nice. So, that's really nice.
And then then like a couple hours later, my luggage appeared, and it wasn't in the hallway. I didn't know it was there. Guess where it was?
I'm going to say in the stateroom.
Yes.
2 for 2. All right. What's
so 3 things. Let's go for the class. Let's cover this. It's 11:30. We immediately get on board. They take me to my room. I didn't have to wait for an elevator. I get to walk directly to my cabin, drop off any carry-on, anything like that, and go explore the ship. A short while later on, everything's in my cabin. It's not in the hallway. I don't have to lug it through the door, hold the door, break an elbow or shoulder. Wow. Why doesn't everybody do this? First of all, they can't, because it's only an 86,000 ton ship with 2,100 passengers. And I think they do come in really early. So I think that's the why they can make up those extra hours, because they come in early. Because one thing about Seattle, everybody's got to get off that ship early because they have to get early flights out a lot of times. So I think that's the combination. I think it's almost so those things make for a great experience. Those were like 3 wows. I love this. Sign me up for another one. And then it just went on and on and on. So many little things that Holland America does just makes you go, why doesn't everybody do this?
Yeah. Well,
You know?
I think to be fair, I do agree with you. If that ship had 4,000 people like Encore, so we sailed Encore out of Seattle early this year. We did Alaska cruise. This embarkation wasn't bad. Embarkation was average. I think our rooms were ready by 1:32.
Yeah.
Which because it's twice as many people to your
Sure.
point. But that does seem the one thing we like about Holland America ships. Even their larger ships only 100,000 gross tons and probably holds like 2,800 people versus, or, roughly someone can Google it, but
Yeah.
you still have a very similar experience even on their largest ship that you had.
Yeah, and I've always been told that, and I remember, it's one of the selling points if you're selling cruises for Holland America. They've got the largest, like, standard size cabins. So the base cabin for any Holland America ships can be a little bit larger, and this particular cabin had a nice tub, and and the bathroom didn't feel that much bigger overall. I mean, it felt bigger. It just was a different dimension. It was more normal, I guess, so to speak. It wasn't, but I loved it. And so I'm kind of looking at the cabin. Why doesn't everybody do this? Because I really didn't see the square footage, like it wasn't that noticeable. And it was just another thing. It's like, why doesn't everybody do this? So I think I'm just completely spoiled. And I really, really think that Holland America, everybody should consider Holland America. I actually wanted to take my family on one, but it's hard to tell your family, oh, there's no roller coaster, there's no racetrack or speedway, there's no huge water park.
But I don't think you need those things. So we made a video. No. We first tried out Holland America Line, very end of 21, like right when the restart was, and then sailed several times with them last year. And they, to me, are a hidden. I agree with you, John. They are a hidden gem. Heidi and I just sailed the two of us. So for folks who don't know, Eat Sleep Cruise, we are a couple. We don't have kids, so I can't judge. I agree with you. I don't think I'd bring a 7 and 8 year old or 7, 8 year old. Our nephew's 11. I still think he's a little young because there's a kids area. There's a kids club. It's family friendly, right? It's not Virgin Voyages, but it's a hidden gem. We'll get to dining in a second. I know the food is good. I'm sure we'll hear about your experiences. Same thing with entertainment and then the live music, and it's just a different atmosphere. It doesn't feel so rushed, and everyone just seems a little bit happy. You go on these mega ships, and it's the buffet is just people screaming and crying, things on fire. Everyone's rushing to get to the shows, getting in lines. We never have gotten any of that on any house ship.
And that's exactly right. And I use this word a lot, and we've done it in live streams, it just has a different vibe.
Mm.
And I think the vibe is people are content, people are happy, young, old. There was a lot of families on board. So yes, to answer your question, is Holland America a family cruise line? Yes. You would be perfectly fine to take your children on this ship. I saw them. They are having a great time. They loved it.
You saw children?
Yeah, I saw children. There was a lot of children on board, actually, because at the time of year, school wasn't back yet. It was pretty much the end of July, beginning of August. So schools in the Northeast, I guess, are going back in September. Florida was going back, just this week. And then my daughter started like a day before I came back, I think August 4th. So, yes, you can take children on Holland America. I even talked to them because I'm a nerd. I'm like, hey, they're like, they're having a great time because they don't really care. They just want to be with other kids. There was plenty of other kids on board. They were having a ball. They were with their families. They're happy. And it just had a really nice vibe. So I highly recommend it. And like you said, it was a hidden gem because me and Don are constantly looking at prices and different things like that. Holland America is a great, great value. Because people are confused about the brand a little bit. They don't know about it. It doesn't get the headlines and the pizzazz and the demand sometimes compared to some of the newest ships from Royal Caribbean, the newest ships from Carnival. Well, here's a ship that has much less passenger, large guest space to guest ratio. So you have a lot of room. That means less lines, and you're getting premium things. So, it might be a chance, especially in Alaska. Holland America has been in Alaska for more than anyone else. So if you want to do an Alaska cruise, it might be a good time to try this brand. And this isn't a sales pitch. There's nothing going on here. But this would be a good time to try this brand, possibly compared to the other brands that maybe that you might have cruised before. You'd probably be surprised. It might be more affordable, and you actually might get more for your money in some ways. So as far as that better vibe, better experience. So, yeah.
I think so, and they have bundled pricing now. Like they have it all. I'm pretty sure that's what it's called. Promotions where you can get a drink package. The gratuities are included. Pretty sure basic Wi-Fi, which Wi-Fi is not really great in Alaska for anybody. So no one's cracked that yet as far as having amazing internet.
Yeah, it's
But
kind
then
of
to your point, it's a great value, and I think they put money, but instead of having crazy water slides, their enrichment is usually good, and then the theater entertainment is among the best for they don't do your Broadway style shows, but they have solid review shows.
Yeah, and we talked about this before we went live. I'll share it to you guys now. They have a thing called the Step One Dance Company that's on board. So they didn't have production shows, but they had this, and it blew me away. Loved it. So there was 2 showings during the week-long cruise, and so we'll add this now. We can't play the music because we know we're going to get yelled at by the copyright.
Mr. YouTube is going to yell at you.
So we'll put it here. But it's really, really good. The best way to describe it is if you like, you think you can dance, and those types of really good, high quality dance company kind of shows where they put on these things. I'm talking about these guys, these cast members and dancers put on a show from start to finish. I mean, it was amazing to see them do their talents. So here we go.
Yeah, and I think it's very modern, contemporary. And to your point, they use the digital elements, so it's not crazy over in your face, but it's definitely your kids would like it. It's family friendly, and it is engaging, right, with all the effects they use.
Oh, the effects and everything rivaled many of the quote fancier ships that we've been on, from these other cruise lines. Where I was highly impressed, and the sound system in the Eurodam, which is a 2008 ship, was top notch. So everything from A to Z as far as the show was right up there with the best of them. So really, really loved it. And just the pure raw talent of the dance company was just incredible. They didn't stop the whole show. Unreal. Unreal.
That's awesome. Yeah. We've seen them on other ships. So good news is, for better or worse, they're, I believe, on almost every HAL ship, regardless of itinerary. They'll have a couple of shows. John mentioned he saw 2. I know there's a 3rd show that they do sometimes with piano players if you have the piano bar on the ship. But definitely another notch is you don't need to have over the top theater productions. And there must have been some headliners though. There was a couple of nights of that, and then a few headliners. Origin Story. Mention that. Talk about the Origin Story for a second. That I think I've seen it a couple of times now, and even though it's the same show, I think it's really well done. Right. So talk about that's the first night.
Yeah, the Origin Story. They actually had it, I think, the last day.
Really? Ooh,
yeah, they had We Are Alaska the first day. And it was put on by the cruise director. And the best way to describe it, help me out, Don, because I know that you do presentations and stuff like that too, is it really was this amazing presentation of video and the oral presentation by the cruise director, which I never expected it to be. I didn't really know what this was. I just thought it was going to be a presentation. It was a show in itself as far as how it was presented so well. It was really like an amazing story with visuals and sound, audio, and presentation. Incredible. And to get to your point, the Origin Story talks about Holland America's 150-year history. And to let you know, I was with some people, and we all got up, and people were saying how, they got emotional. It brought them to tears. And so on and so forth. It definitely choked me up. It was really, really incredible because they're sharing things about the company's history that really is about our history and our ancestors' history that you don't know about. And so it really just blew me away. It was, like I said, very took you through a ride through history and life in general that I thought was second to none. So highly recommend that. And one thing I'm trying to do here is share some things that I learned that impressed me that like I've never heard about any of these things really before. So I highly recommend you put that on your list when you do take a Holland America cruise, and hopefully this helps you not miss these amazing moments. So to get to the rest of the things, I know we talked about food.
Yeah, we can talk a little bit about food, a little bit about, I'm trying to see, again, folks, if you have questions, leave them in the comment section below. We know I had that Encore, Alaska. Someone asked, and Heidi already took care of it about if we've said on Celebrity, but we can talk about another time. I think, looking real quick here. Someone asked about hot tubs. I think Heidi already answered that. Well, from Dennis. So yeah, why don't we talk about dining? We can start a little bit there.
Yeah.
So Holland America Line has pretty good main dining room, but you also did specialty dining too, right?
Yeah, and I'm telling you, I know we talked about this the other day or previously. I guess we talked. Yeah, Canaletto on there. The gravy, Don. The gravy on Canaletto was absolutely.
I heard.
I'm telling you, when I was like, this is amazing, and they actually have fresh pasta on Holland America. Everybody says they have fresh pasta, but it's questionable sometimes. They actually have really fresh pasta on the Holland America ships. We actually asked for a side of spaghetti, but it was fresh pasta, really, really good. So always ask for that side dish. They had a carbonara on the last night. Was actually same thing, fresh pasta, really, really good. But the actual gravy that came with the red sauce they made was so good. And it's just that attention to detail. It sounds kind of simple, and I know we're always joking about gravy, but just really, really good. So Canaletto was one of my favorite places to go. It just blew us away. I didn't expect it to be all that, honestly.
Well, I'll be honest, because when you told me that before, so we did a little pre-show, and I talked to Heidi. Honestly, that was one of our least favorite on Holland America Line. But they've totally revamped the concept recently. We haven't said, like I said, how in months now. But previously, that was one of the specialty restaurants where I'd like pass. But now I know they updated the menu. Now that you've given it two thumbs up, we're gonna have to get back there and try it, because our other favorite used to be the steakhouse and the Asian restaurant, usually tied for my favorites.
Yeah, Tamarind was really, really nice. I know we talked about that. It was one of those restaurants where you look at the menu and you kind of want everything. And I know a lot of the starters, you talked about that. So a lot of these places, we had some food influencers there. So I was like, we need to order some extra things, like to take pictures. And we all had pictures and stuff like that. Like I said, look at our social media, and of course, look at Don's as well. So Pinnacle Grill obviously is down, as everybody says it's one of the best steakhouses at sea. I wholly agree with that. Can't say enough about that. Tamarind, it was the first time I'd ever tried that. Really, really nice. So all three are really, A pluses. It's all, and of course, if you have to pick, go to your taste. I thought Canaletto had some of the most enriching flavors. Like, kind of really surprised me. I really thought it would be maybe like the C, the last come in last overall if I had to put in order, and it kind of really surprised me how great it was. So and then one thing that was nice was the Alaska brunch on sea days. They did it twice, the early and last, which was nice because it had that Alaska. They did have Alaska themed things. They had the pea soup in Glacier Bay. They actually were serving pea soup, traditional Dutch favorite on Holland America. And they, of course, had high tea, and they had Alaska brunch twice, which is a really exclusive thing for Alaska cruises. Really, really nice. Amazing things. Everything from sandwiches, entrees, but really good. The food is just really good. And the crew, absolutely incredible. Really can't say enough about the crew.
Well, I thought you said you had even ate some of the crew. Like, John, how hungry were you? All right, the crew was good.
So
talking about the restaurants, and then the crew were even better. It's
like we said, they also did the We Are Alaska the first night, then the Origin Story, I think, by the cruise director. Really, really nice. So I think that sums up all things. If you have any questions, I know I've talked quite a bit, and we haven't got too many questions.
We'll get to some of the questions. I want to touch briefly.
Hopefully that helps you out.
The things out. So let me touch briefly on dining on Joy. Kind of give a transposition for folks. So. I think especially restaurants, you mentioned three, they're all different prices on how, right? So I think at least it used to be, Canelo also used to be the least expensive one, if I remember. But and then the steakhouse, I think, is the most expensive. And then you have Tamarind kind of in between, which also has sushi as a separate menu. On Norwegian Joy, there's several, especially restaurants too. We actually tried a new one for us that we hadn't dined in. And I say new, but we tried it when it was an older menu. Now it's a new menu. Ocean Blue, which is a seafood restaurant on Norwegian ships, actually was much better than we expected. It had a newer menu, so there was stuff Heidi would eat. I had the Chiopini, which was a pretty good, well-made seafood stew. We did our personal favorite. You're talking about Asian food is Food Republic, right? The tapas restaurant.
Oh, yeah.
Joy knocked it out of the park. You can order a bunch of different things, up to 4 items per person on the dining package. And then we did teppanyaki, which we always like.
Oh yeah, we did great teppanyaki.
It's great teppanyaki. It's a great night out, and this is, I think it's going to be the largest in the fleet. I'll get an official word from NCL because Joy used to be in the Asian market, and you walk in usually in teppanyaki, you see 3 or 4 grills around the corner. This venue took up. It was on deck 6. It's basically where the club is on some of the other breakaway class ships on the other side. It was much bigger than the one on Encore, which we had just been on. It was huge, and it was packed every night. So the specialty, I usually say you don't have to pay for food on a cruise, but budget 1 or 2 nights if you want to do something, as John mentioned, around your taste. Do you like Italian? Do you like Asian? Do you like seafood? Depending on the cruise line, like I said, we had teppanyaki. Our side also, we went to the Texas Smokehouse. Heidi's not a big fan of that restaurant, but it's a barbecue joint. I think it's pretty good. It's more casual, of course. They have live country music. One night they do country line dancing. So just a different vibe. But you can go there and just get a drink too if you want. And not to dine there. The bar is open later when they have some of the events there too. So take advantage of all the different dining options. One thing we'll talk about real quick, then answer some questions. Did you get a dive-in burger?
Oh yeah. Oh, so that's a whole other conversation. The dive-in burger was really, really good. First time I tried that. The pizza, I know there was a little controversy about that because we're both pizza snobs.
Pizza snob for sure. I'm wearing the badge of honor.
Yeah, if you just walk up and it says New York Pizza. If you just walk up, they have like a sheet style pizza, which I don't recommend. But we were with some foodie people, and they were like, "Did you try the pizza?" I'm like, "Yeah," and I'm like, I don't know about that. And they're like, "Oh, you have to order one." So there is a menu where you order it, and they make a real pizza, like a round pizza, and you can even order it on the app, which is pretty cool. So I did, and came back totally different, which I don't get. Like, how can we have different? So I don't understand that, but now you know. Order a pizza. You can even just order it right up there, but you're going to wait for a little while. There is a little bit of a delay. It's not as quick as say Carnival or even a Royal Caribbean. There's a delay, so you might have to wait, stand by. And of course, if you do it on the app, which is really cool, you just show up in there and they'll tell you how much longer if it's not ready when you show up. So definitely order a pizza. Oh, but dive in. So there is I got to think of the name, but my favorite thing there was a brat. So it has a French roll with a brat with curry ketchup and so good. Oh my gosh, they got great fries with it too, and it was so good. I mean, where do you get that? Nowhere. Yeah. No one has anything like that. It was so good. I could eat that every day, all day. Yes.
And I think you mentioned this about the pizza, but the great thing about that too is you can order on the app at the dive-in. Too. Oh, yeah. So if you didn't I don't know if you took advantage of that, and that way you don't have to wait in line.
That would have been scary. That would have been scary. Like speed dial the brat. I'm telling you, if I had a picture, see, like everybody, like a lot of these cruise lines will say, "We've got this and we've got that," and then the reality sometimes it's not so great. This is great. Real good French bread roll. Really good high quality brat. Course, the sauce, the fries, it's really, really good. When they say premium, they mean it all around. There's a difference. I'm sorry, but there is definitely a difference in food quality.
It's where you're putting money. They have less people.
Yeah.
And again, if you look at the pricing, Hal is I think very fairly priced for what you get. The food is great, and the other experiences you're talking about.
Yeah.
The casual dining, I think their buffet is one of the best too. The dive-in.
Oh yeah.
To me, dive-in versus Guys. So folks, and they're both Carnival brands. Guys is it's more fast food burger style, whereas I'd say the dive-in's more gourmet, and it has more options. It has a chicken sandwich that Heidi likes. You mentioned the brat. I think it has a couple signature burgers too, where you can customize it with just whatever you want. Yeah. But the fries are good too. But it's always a battle between dive-in and Guys for me. Which one is the best?
But yeah, like you said, the Holland America's always been known for their food. And what I can say is just across the board, even room service, 24-hour room service, no charge, by the way. A wonderful menu. I mean, where a lot of lines charge for everything, there's all these charges and fees and stuff like that or a limited menu, which there's nothing really there that you'd want to order. You know what I mean? Here you had great options, didn't cost you anything. So there was just a plethora of different food options, and the quality was solid all around. Like I said, really, really premium. Add that to the comfort of a bigger cabin, less people on board, that great vibe. People, if there's less people on board, they have more room and they're not aggravated. It's just got a better vibe. So totally down with these small ships, it's premium feeling.
Yeah. So speaking of which, there's actually a question we want you to answer. But if folks have questions we talked about Bermuda. We didn't talk much about what we did in Bermuda, but Bermuda's just a beach day, really. There's some great things to do. We did the caves and did some sightseeing in the different historic towns there. But Bermuda is a great kind of beach experience. John's talking about Alaska. Ask your questions below. I guess we'll throw this one to you. So I think our friend Tom, and welcome back, Tom, I think has been on a couple lives before over on YouTube, is worried about the motion on smaller ships versus larger ships. What do you think about that? Did you feel, because you were on Spirit earlier this year, which is roughly the same size, right, as your dam,
yeah.
in that around there? And then we're both in Alaska. So did you feel the motion in the ocean, John?
No, there was actually, so these are two pretty much similar size ships. I think it all has to do with the only time you have movement in Alaska really is when it goes out into the Pacific a little bit, when it first starts, either leaving Vancouver or coming up from Seattle, where it kind of goes out. But then it goes into some sheltered waters in the inside passage where there's really no movement because it's sheltered by the land. This cruise was the smoothest cruise I've ever been in Alaska. There was it was so smooth all around, and sometimes you didn't know the ship was moving. It was that smooth. So yeah, it was no movement at all. It was almost incredible because I was totally expecting a lot of movement the first day and a half or so, the sea day, because it was a long sea day there. Nothing at all. So, and with the Caribbean, a lot of times in the Caribbean, you don't feel anything going down on the Eastern Caribbean, but anytime you go back north, if there's a cold front time of year, the ship might jog a little bit going into the wind and out. Sometimes it goes, the route hits some deeper waters going back north from Florida on the East Coast. And of course, the West Coast has its own things, but not so much movement because it's the Gulf of Mexico is much more shallower compared to the open waters of the Atlantic. So sometimes if you even go to Nassau, Bahamas, there's a point there if you go directly from Miami where it can get kind of rough. But, it's funny we say a small ship. Well, not long ago in my memory, because, 100,000 tons was breaking Guinness Book of Records.
Those 90,000 tons is a large ship.
So it's not a little ship at all. So and really with the stabilizers, if you don't know, Tom, the stabilizers, it has basically little mini wings on the side that adjust the roll. So it flattens out the roll so the ship doesn't go left or right. So all you're really going to get if you do get movement is a little bit of buffeting and maybe a little porpoising or like that, but really nothing major. And it takes a lot to make those ships move like that. So it's got to be pretty significant. And it's usually when you're in the open waters, and most of the cruising is literally from island to island and in shallower waters. So I wouldn't worry about it. Don't take any, this is all my opinion, and I've got strong ones, is don't take any drugs. They make you sick. There's a lot of
you mean like for
Dramamine
medication?
I see a lot of people take Dramamine. I actually had a dinner a long time ago with a princess doctor, and he was telling me the horror stories. And the first thing he checks for is behind the ear for people taking Dramamine. And my speech of the moment is a lot of times people overdose on these Dramamine because they're so worried about getting seasick. And then they combine it with too much sun and too much alcohol because they're on a cruise, go figure. And those two things with Dramamine are total no-nos. So you have people taking drugs and doing something they're actually not supposed to do. And of course, when do you ever take Dramamine? Never. So you don't know what it's going to affect your body. So those three combinations of the drugs and those situations where you're not used to all three things can be a real problem. And the doctor was telling me some horror stories. So maybe take you can always get some ginger cookies or get a ginger ale or green apple or something like that. But the ships don't move. I'm more concerned about, I don't like boats. I lived in Florida. I'm not going on a deep sea fishing boat, which is going to roll around like a washing machine. That's a problem. These ships are nothing like that. Nothing like that at all. Yeah. So that's my opinion. I've never gotten seasick ever, but I would totally get seasick on a boat, fishing boat in the deep sea feed. I would be sick as a dog. Two different things. That's my 5 cents, maybe 10.
That's perfect. That's what folks are asking for. So Philip's even on Facebook saying, what about an even smaller ship of 700 passengers? So we've sailed, I think you've been with us a couple times. So Viking Ocean, those are 45,000 gross tons, about 900 people, just under 1,000, 900 and change. We've also sailed on Windstar cruises. They hold 300-ish people, I want to say 350.
We did the Viking Polaris together.
The Polaris and Expedition vessel, is that
Yeah.
300-ish?
Yeah, 336. And I was really concerned about that one. It didn't move at all. It did move.
That is a brand new.
It did not move at all.
Arctic, though.
We were supposed to hit. We went a long ways. There was like people were passengers were talking about, oh, we're going to hit all kinds of stuff. There's a weather person on board. They really had doctors on board, weather meteorologist people. And I was like, oh, it's going to be bad because I've never been on a ship that small. It didn't do anything. It was so smooth. So I'm not worried about it. I don't think you should worry about it. Just have a great time. If it gets too much for you, this is really what my recommendation is. Hold on to the rail. Always hold on to the rails if in anywhere. Keep yourself centered, and then get to your room and lay down for a minute. Because a lot of times things will pass. But that's just my opinion. Hopefully, I just would never recommend my family or friends, and I treat y'all as like friends. I would hate people to get sick or have a side effects from some drugs that they don't know what's going to happen. And of course, you want to be able to eat what you want. You're able to do what you want. And you're going to get some sun and alcohol potentially. That's what a lot of people do. So if I told you the stories that doctor told me, you would be horrified. So.
Well, don't tell us. We don't want to scare folks away. We love cruising. We talk about these things, and people like sometimes say negative things. Like overall, we love cruising. And I think to John's point, the modern ships you go on, whether it's 85, well, you said that ship was just under 90,000 gross tons, 45,000 gross tons, or 220,000 gross tons, like an Oasis class ship. Unless you're trying to cross the Pacific, the roughest seas we've ever had, and it wouldn't matter. We were on a Celebrity ship that is about 125,000, I think 130,000 gross tons. And we went from Hawaii, and shout out to our friends in Maui, hope all as well, Hawaii to Vancouver, and we crossed the Pacific 5 straight days. It doesn't matter what kind of vessel you're in, right? If you're going to do a transatlantic like that, the Pacific, it was gray. You couldn't see, the visibility was low. And not that it rocked a lot, but I mean, you could feel the ship moving, but nothing crazy. It's a slight sway versus, as you mentioned, John, if you're on an actual boat and you're doing this or doing that, that's the only time you're going to feel is when you're really crossing the Atlantic or the Pacific. And at that point, doesn't matter the size of the ship. So don't let that scare you. If there's a small ship you want to do like a Windstar or a Viking, those are great products. Windstar, a little bit different in vibe, onboard vibe between those two brands, but they definitely go for more immersive experiences. Small ship, high level of service. We were on the Windstar. By the second day, everyone knew us. The ship wasn't very full either, but still, like with 300 people, the crew gets to know you pretty quickly. They know your drinks. They're super friendly. It's just a different altogether atmosphere. So small ships can be great. We focus more on mega ships. I don't know. Now as I get older, I get as old as John. That I focus more on the smaller ships. This is a question. I know Heidi's already tackled this one. Let's talk. Chanel on YouTube asked about best all-inclusive cruise. Well, cruising is a great value, but the only lines that are truly all-inclusive are the luxury lines, right? That they include it all. Viking, it's pretty close. They don't have liquor, but beer and wine at meals. They basically give you beer and wine almost whenever you want. So pretty close to all-inclusive, but it's really only those high-level, those ultra-luxury cruise lines that everything's included. But I don't even know if you really need to spend that kind of money. You can put something together with a drink package, Wi-Fi package, and I think the ships are might be a little bit more folk style. But I know you're partial to Viking, but whatever those other high-level brands have you sailed on?
I think I've only just done Viking though.
So Viking it is. All right. That's an easy answer. No.
Yeah. So Chanel, I guess that's to answer your question. It really comes down to, and even with Viking, you can buy a silver spirits package, they call it. So that includes, and it's very affordable. And even the drinks a la carte, the chairman of Viking is very big on not nickel and diming the guests. So if you bought a drink, it's actually pretty fair priced. So you have to ask yourself if you're, do you want to drink? And sometimes like there's a big debate. They have several different products. On the river cruise, you're very busy during the day. You're very active. So you might not be able to really use the drink package. So it might not be as good a value. And you might be fine with just the beer and wine with dinner. If you wanted to drink a special certain drink or special certain coffee, you could just do it a la carte. You'll probably do fine with that. The ocean
Well,
product.
coffee, specialty coffee is included on those lines too. It's really just liquor, right? It's if you want a Manhattan or a certain whiskey drink, they're gonna charge you. But as you said, their drink package on Viking, I want to say is like $30 a day.
It's not very much.
It's not very much. It used to even be cheaper, but like everything that's gone up recently. But I want to say the silver package is 25, it's around $30 a day, which their cocktails there are probably $10 to $15. So if you think you're going to drink more than 2 to 3 on Viking, get it. Or maybe depending on the promotions, I don't know. I know Michael, who does a lot with Viking, that John has a lot on lives too, might know. Maybe sometimes travel agents have perks that you can get a discount on your package. I don't know. We're not as fancy as John. We don't get to sell as many Vikings, but Viking is great. We've been on some other premium lines like Oceania. So Oceania is kind of, it's not as high level as Viking, but all their dining's included. All premium non-alcoholic beverages are included, and then you can buy a drink package. So, and the drink package, from what I remember, wasn't like crazy. Like Royal Caribbean's is $100 a day. Norwegian's $100 a day for their drink packages. Retail price, they usually have some promotion going, but just a sticker price is usually $100. Oceania wasn't like that, and everything else is basically included. So you buy the package, and now it's kind of all inclusive, right?
That's a pretty. I think Chanel actually asked us a pretty hard question, isn't it? Because it's kind of hard to answer that question, because there's luxury, and then there's ultra luxury.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's and then she's not even asking about luxury. She's asking about all inclusiveness, which is, some people might say, well, they can have more of an all inclusive experience, because the question really is, what do you want to be included? And that really needs to be answered before anybody tells you what to book, because you could have a more inclusive experience on a big ship through and all different levels, as far as premium, mainstream, contemporary, luxury, and ultra luxury. Yeah. So it really depends on what you want and what type of experience you want, and then where you want to put your dollars, because you can pretty much book all your tours. Either you may not even drink, so now you don't need that, and that goes with a lot of other tours. Even with Viking, there's optional tours. So
right.
So yeah, it really gets subjective, Chanel. So hopefully we're helping you out. That's why we really do recommend a travel advisor to help you navigate these products. They change regularly. There's new brands coming online. Crystal's back, for example. It disappeared for a moment, and now that's back.
You even mentioned like a Norwegian or Celebrity or MSC. There's ships within a ship concept. So Norwegian has the Haven, which is like having a luxury boutique. I think the last ship Joy we're on, I think they said it was 100 suites, roughly 100, 118, something like that. So 200 or 300 people on the ship have their own exclusive decks. They have their own special restaurant, their own pool, and then they get privileged access to the show, special seating area. So it's like you're on a ship that's only 40,000 gross tons, or a luxury ship, but then you get to use everything else that's on Norwegian's. MSC has a yacht club, same type of deal. You pay to be part of that exclusive area in the ship, bigger rooms, better service, private restaurants. But if you have kids and they want to use the water park, you got the water park right there. So it really depends. What are you looking for? Not that we sell them to other brands, but I would think the smaller boutique ultra luxury ships cater a different clientele than these other ships, where you can basically make it all inclusive, as Sean said. If you just kind of bundle some packages together, or Princess now has Princess Plus or Princess Premier. So when you go to book, right at the time of booking, you pay, I think Princess Plus is $60. I want to say, and Premier is an extra $80 a day. And then it's specialty dinings included, Wi-Fi, fitness class. It essentially is all inclusive, and you just pay, it's a different rate than the standard or basic fare. So that's a way of, Princess, I would never say is an all-inclusive line, but you can make your cruise all-inclusive.
Yeah, that is a great question. I think she definitely got our attention with that one, because you want to say luxury, but not really. She said all-inclusive, and cruising as a whole used to be very all-inclusive. That was the whole come on to it all. But of course, now it's kind of changed a little bit, So, and usually, so me and you were kind of like, well, luxury has more all-inclusive type of label, more things are included. Tours are included in every port. Beer and wine is included with most ports. Especially dining a lot of times is included. But maybe she doesn't want that experience. So you back up a little bit. You can make any other brand pretty much inclusive based on your expectations, because you wouldn't buy something you're not going to use. So that's why you sit down with a travel advisor. a few little things here and there. Sometimes you can get a great experience, exactly what you want for you and your family, and you're good to go.
Yeah. And the other thing I'll say that, and I'm getting another good question. People are rattling up. Please ask the questions down below. Love to have these conversations. So what's included in a cruise? We'll have to do a separate one with that because, as John mentioned earlier with his Pizzagate, alluding to some cruise lines peeling back what's included. And Princess is actually one of them. We love Princess. And then even Royal playing with potentially charging for some things. So that whole idea of like, is cruising still a good value we can bring up. But this is another hot topic, I believe. Kyle on YouTube, what does formal night mean? Oh, John, I got to look out for any shoes coming my way. Formal night.
Yes.
First of all, thumbs up or thumbs down? Are you a formal night person? Be honest.
I think a lot. Yeah, I think so. I like formal night. I mean, to me, the quick answer would be formal night is a great opportunity to dress up, wear your best clothes. If that's what you want to do. Is it mandatory? Absolutely not. But you might feel out of place during the dinner hours. So yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for you and the family or the couple, whatever the situation for that particular cruise is, to wear your best clothes, be it a suit, nice dress, whatever, and go maybe get some nice formal pictures. Have those, just go there and get some pictures taken. And it's nice to have that. You don't need to buy anything, but it's great to have the opportunity to sit down and have those done. Sometimes you can get 3 to 4 real easily. And you find your favorite one, and maybe you give that as a Christmas gift or whatever like that. It also means, not to talk over you, Don, but a lot of times you can meet the captain. And so there's usually a captain's toast, a chance to meet him, maybe get a picture, maybe a handshake, stuff like that. That used to be at the entryway to the restaurants. I know certain cruise lines do that, like on the first seating. Sometimes there's also a Princess does a little champagne tower, right? And they pour like a champagne in the tower, and the captain says something, and so it all varies per cruise line. So there's really not a blanket answer, but it's just a great celebration to dress up, look your best, feel your best, enjoy life to its fullest. The food is elevated. During a cruise, that's going to be usually like the best main dining room food. If you're at a special restaurant, maybe that's when you book like the really nice steakhouse, maybe the Pinnacle Grill, or Chops, or whatever cruise line you're on. But Don, what do you think? What does formal night mean to you?
Well, I'm pretty sure our friend Dennis over here, that's why I put this up here.
Oh, Dennis,
I think he's giving, and correct me if I'm wrong, giving thumbs down to formal night. Hopefully not to us.
He's like, Dennis says, I don't do formal nights.
So here's what my 2 cents on formal night. When we get some PowerPoint slides ready. Oh, no, I'm just kidding. I'm not a fan. My wife likes formal night for many of the reasons, John, you pointed out about getting dressed up. I feel there's just an overall trend where fewer and fewer people want to dress up. I think where the tension, which is fine, the tension is you're on vacation, and it should be your vacation. You want to just chill out, relax at the pool, do stuff, great. I think what happens is those who do dress up then kind of start feeling like, well, I'm dressing up to go to the restaurant because it's a nicer menu. Lobster night, second formal night on almost any contemporary cruise line besides Norwegian. And then you have the guy in the flip-flops and the shorts and the T-shirt sitting next to you also eating the lobster, and you're in your suit or in a sport coat and a nice dress. And I think that's where the tension comes. I'm with you. If you like formal night, do formal night. More and more, I think fewer and fewer people do them. But still, we were on one cruise, and formal night was people were just dressed to the nines. That's still a saying. And we're having a great time, and other people weren't, and they were having a good time too. So don't feel the pressure to first of all, you don't have to dress up. That's rule number one. I don't think you should dress like a bum and then go to dinner regardless of the night. So we always wear like something nice to the main dining room any night of the week, because there are dress codes which are just not enforced. We'll talk about dress codes another week.
Yeah, I think
so. So I would say I'll leave this in rebuttal. So you can dress up, but you don't have to. You don't feel out of place if you're not dressed up. Also, don't feel out of place if you're dressed up. But if you're gonna go to the dining room any night of the week, don't go in your flip flops and T-shirt. Just put on a pair of khaki shorts and a polo shirt and shoes, or jeans. And if my brother wears jeans, nice shirt. Like, you just look decent in the main dining room. And then if other people are super dressed up, they can't say anything to you. But if you're dressed kind of bummy, then that's where we've definitely had people like call their people out in the main dining room, which is also super awkward too. So I don't know. I would see if it would go in the comments if there's any other. Des said no formal nights for him. That's perfectly fine. Then don't worry about it. And of course Heidi agrees with you, John. Shocker.
And here's something. I started cruising in '89.
When you were 6, right?
When I was 6, and so back then, I'd say probably into the early 2000s. The whole ship was dressed up. And so you would stick out. And it was more of an issue then. Today, it is not an issue. Today, I really think maybe some slacks and something with a collared shirt. I think you're good almost every night in a dining room. And casual means casual. There's less. And that's really just going to the main dining room in some other areas. Plenty of people will change after dinner because they don't want to wear the shoes, the women or the men, their feet hurt. It's not always comfortable to wear your best, right? So some people will change maybe at like 9 o'clock into something more casual to go to the shows and be more comfortable, a comedy show, whatever your ship is, to have that second part of the evening to be more comfortable and not hurt their feet or what have you. They'll just dress up for the dinner portion, whatever that is for you. Dinner might be 5 o'clock to 7 o'clock for you, or a lot of people it might be 7 to 9. And so they might dress up for that moment, for that point of the evening, and then get more casual, more comfortable. Like I said, it used to be a big deal. Now it's not. I'm talking the whole ship would be dressed up, and sometimes with tuxedos, and we're talking ties and the whole 9 yards. I mean, white suits, the whole ship. Not anymore. It's changed everywhere. I've been on a lot of cruise lines lately, and so there's people that are really of all different means that just don't want to get dressed up for when they go on vacation. So it's not that thing. It's just people want to be comfortable. So the cruise lines have heard that, and they've changed from what it used to be, and you pretty much can do what you want. But if you're going to go in the dining room on formal nights or dressy nights or whatever they call it, because they all have different names for it nowadays, really you pretty much can find with a collared shirt and slacks. You're pretty much good. If you want to wear a jacket, fine. If you want to wear a tie, fine. If you want to go wear a tuxedo, fine. You'll be comfortable no matter what. And then there's going to be plenty of people that are going to switch out of those clothes right after 9 o'clock or so to go to the comedy club or the dance or the main show, because they don't want to be you'll see pretty much everything after that because people want to be comfortable.
Right. And also just think of this too, all the John mentioned, like the picture station stuff, they'll take your picture whatever you're wearing. So don't feel you have to get dressed up to go. They usually actually have pictures almost every night. Yeah. But of course they have more stations set up during the formal nights on your ship. You can still go and get your picture taken in whatever you're wearing. Again, I wouldn't wear flip-flops and a t-shirt and like shorts, but don't feel like, oh, well, I have to dress up to get a picture. They'll take your picture. You can buy the pictures with it, whatever backup you want. And I agree with John. If you have khakis and the safest bet for at least guys, I guess women can wear that too. Call a shirt, either polo and khakis any night of the cruise. That's a good deal. When people ask about dress code, I think they call that resort casual, but I'm not into fashion. That would work any night, any ship. The other thing too, specialty restaurants, a lot of times you don't need to dress up on the formal nights. That's a lot of options for cruisers who just want to avoid going to the dining room and worried about people shaming them or not shaming them based on what you wear. When you go to a specialty restaurant, you can wear, unless that restaurant has a dress code, which I think only like really all luxury cruise lines have, like Canaan or something has them too. You can wear essentially what you want at the specialty restaurants those nights too. So that's another option. If you don't want to go to the buffet, go to a specialty restaurant, you feel fine. But I agree with you, John. Heidi and I have been cruising together since 2007 was our first cruise. And we were also 6. And and I agree with you. Everyone had the suits, and you used to be able to rent tuxes. I remember Royal Caribbean's first cruise went on. Yeah. They used to have a little tuxedo shop
Carnival
that you could rent. I worked in formal wear, believe it or not, when I was in college. And I remember we ran a cruise special. You could rent the tuxedo for a discounted rate because usually tuxedo rental is 48 hours, but you rented it for the week with the cruise special. Yep. Now it's night and day from that.
Yeah, Carnival used to have it. You used to be able to buy roses, the flower shop, and a tuxedo. right there, right. It was like called Formals or something like that. I think they turned it into like the candy shop area, on the newer ships. So
Right.
we've got a lot of comments.
We do. Oh, so quick. Have you done a Disney cruise? I know Heidi's already answered.
I have not done a Disney cruise.
Yeah, we had a question here, about Disney cruising, and Heidi already answered. So, our producer's Heidi, the much better and smarter looking half of Eat Sleep Cruise, and she's been managing a lot of the messages. Thanks for the comments coming in. John and I can't scroll as fast, and we like to talk about this stuff. So we've only done Disney Wish. We had a great time, but looking forward. We actually right now have another Disney cruise booked for next year. I want to say on either Dream or Wonder, but I know there was a question there. Let's see. I'm trying to see what else folks have for questions that we didn't get to. I think just a couple others, but I think between Chanel said thanks for our tips. Between we got a lot of comments in the formal night, which that's always a hot topic. We can do one. The problem is you can't really find people who are negative, who are con formal night. Everyone that we know, all our friends, John, whether they want to or not, basically dress up. Matt, I know does. Sherry does. Obviously, we do. You mentioned it. Oh well, I know one or two people who probably don't, but they wouldn't. I'm not gonna say their names because they'd be probably. I know they're not pro formal night, but.
I definitely don't stress about it as much as I used to. But I think do what you feel is comfortable for you, and. There's plenty of people that just don't go. They just don't go to the main dining room that night, and they wear casual clothes, and maybe they'll go to a specialty restaurant or they'll go to a buffet area if they just totally want to opt out of it. So, it all depends on the cruise line you're on too.
Right, and the cruise we did a holiday cruise, Thanksgiving cruise. Way more people dressed up on formal night.
Yeah, the vibe changes. It's like who's on board that week. It changes. You have different demographics on a shorter cruise sometimes, longer cruise. You have groups. We had a wedding party of like 60 on our Holland America cruise, I believe. So you have that family, and 60 people is quite significant. So if they're doing their thing and they walk in the dining room at one time, people are going to take notice. Like, oh, okay, the such family isn't playing around. They're all wearing tuxes. People are like, oh, But it's not about getting stressed out about it. I think look at I constantly see this. Look at the cruise line's dress codes. It spells it out. It's not a mystery, and it'll tell you exactly what's going on. And I know like some of the special restaurants have a particular dress code. Usually it's business casual or something like that. They just don't want people wearing tore up jeans, which is kind of fashionable nowadays. So. But they'll.
So you have your torn jeans packed for your next cruise.
I don't, but I know I pick my daughter from high school, and it's very fashionable for kids nowadays in high school age, and plenty of people that want to be in high school still.
act like they're still in high school.
Yeah,
I don't know anyone like that.
But it's like, it's funny, like yeah. So.
So Dennis, thanks again. Thanks for the comments, folks. We can go a little bit longer. John and I usually do these lives, but Q&A is about an hour, so I know we've already plus that. But any experience with the Princess Bid program? The only reason I put that is because we do have experience. We on our last Princess cruise bid and won a pretty nice upgrade from a standard balcony to a premium deluxe, which was a bigger room and an extra large balcony. It was all the way forward, I want to say, of the ship. And it basically extended out near where their outdoor promenade would be. So it was one of the biggest balconies I've ever had. And we bid, I think, $10 more per person. So that's the one thing with any of these bid programs. Princess has it, Royal, Celebrity has them. You can't just bid like $5. They say, to go from this room to this room, minimum bids is $100 or $75. So we won on Princess. We've also won on Norwegian. We've won them more. Not that we do a lot of them. We've probably done about 4 or 5 bids and won at least 3 of them. We've won on Princess. We've won. I say won, but we got the upgrade. I should say. It's not like we. And I haven't been disappointed in that. And of course, if you don't win, you still get the same room you have. But just be careful of that. If you put in that bid and it's accepted, they're going to move you to a room and you don't know where that room is until pretty soon before the cruise. So if you have your heart set being on a certain deck, certain location of the ship, like I said, this cabin happened to be all the way forward, which is fine. We had a midship cabin, but we got a bigger room, bigger balcony. I'll move to the front of the ship for that. But if you're very specific and you already have a cabin that you like in a location you want, the bid programs on any cruise line probably aren't worth it, right? Would you say the same thing, John?
I actually have never done a bid program. I think I'm old school, but I
you just pick your room and you're like, that's my room. Forget about it.
It's or like we talked about, I might just do like a guaranteed cabin, just kind of like, now I know I'm just gonna be waiting for it. But yeah, I mean, I like the idea, but to me, it's like they're just trying to make money off me, I don't know.
Well, the good thing is you book this is what you do, John. You book the guarantee. That's what we did. We booked the guaranteed balcony. That's going to be the lowest rate. And then when you get the bid options, like on Norwegian, we didn't do it, but you could bid up to a Haven.
They're like,
I want to say
you get a suite for $50 more.
It was like $300 or $400 more a person, which if you win the bid at $800, $900 to go from a standard balcony to a Haven suite. Wow. Like if you were just to pay that in the beginning, it's easily 2.5 at least twice as much money, if not more.
So what you're saying is they really entice you with these. You book the lowest one, and then they entice you with these super deluxe deals because they're trying to fill those expensive cabins that didn't sell.
Exactly. They rather listen. If that's a $5,000 cabin, you pay $2,000, and then you're willing to give them another $1,000. I'm sure they'll take the $1,000 and move you up. They know you're gonna have a better experience,
right?
And then they can promote and move people and get. We've never gotten from the upgrade ferry. Like we've never just showed up and like, hey, Mr. Bucalo, we like you so much. We gave you a better room. That's never happened. I know people claim it happens to them, but I think now with these bidding programs, if I move out, they can put someone from an ocean view of my balcony, and that person feels good, and you build brand loyalty, right? You build that connection.
Well, I think that they used to have the upgrade ferry because they have these empty cabins, but now with the new system, there are no empty cabins because they sell them to customers like you because they're so enticing to get those higher quality, more expensive cabins filled at a higher rate, and then they sell the cheaper cabins last minute.
Well, I agree. While we were there, I knew they had some open, so I asked. Oh, we got a tour. The folks on Norwegian were really nice. The hotel director and his staff, shout out to them. Group activities managers there, also group services manager there too, really great. Took us around, took us to Vibe, took us to a couple places. So I asked, are there any cabins available? She's like, no, they're all sold out. So to your point, someone's bidding on those cabins because I knew there was at least 3 Haven categories available. Some of them have multiple cabins, so it's possible that before that cruise they had at least 4 or 5 of those suites available. But you're right, someone's like, well, I'll throw in a low bid, and if I get it, great. If I don't, I'll stick with my room. And that's why really the only rooms probably available now on ships are insides or lower level because everyone's trying to upgrade.
Yeah, people used to bum rush the guest services desk and say, hey, can I get an upgrade? Can I get upgrade? Well, now they've monetized it where they sell those cabins to existing customers and they make them happy first with a feel good deal, and they still make more money, and they still can pass along some savings for some last minute deals to customers that might not have cruised at all. And I know they're very aggressive about it because they've already captured you, so they can send you emails. You're gonna be paying attention to it. If they offer you a deal that you can't pass up, you're gonna put in a bid. And I mean, they're brilliant. The cruise lines are very, very smart, and this is something new that they've done in the last. It's new to me still, but they used to not have that, and now they've solved those problems by making existing customers pay extra for those upgrades, and they don't have to worry about it. Now they can have those spaces being utilized because you got to figure if they have butlers or if they have those Haven area, they don't want those areas empty, and they don't want the lower. They don't want they don't want any. Their goal is to have all those rooms filled. So that's the whole goal. And now they've solved it by making it, these upgrades.
And what I hear too, something like the Haven or the Yacht Club, once you go and have that experience, you never go back. We were fortunate enough to do the Haven once. It was a great experience. We did it on Primo for a 4-night cruise. We have gone back to the balconies, but that's with those bidding programs. It's said even if you have an inside, you can still bid. You have to pay more money for something like a balcony or an ocean view. So they have, depending, of course, they're capacity controlled. So if your ship's already sold out, there's no bidding. But even ships that are packed probably are still have some of those cabins, certain cabins that are available. So I definitely suggest checking them out and bidding if you feel comfortable with it, but just don't bet on, I'm going to get the cheapest room. And then when bid comes around, not every cruise, like we're going on a cruise now, our next cruise, no bidding. It was a celebrity, somebody has a program, never got an email. So that tells me all those nice rooms, we gobbled up this room about a year ago, like 10 months ago, because it was a special cruise for us. And I think a lot of people do that too. So certain itineraries, certain ships, you may not have the chance. But if you do have the chance, we've been successful with it. You got to give it a shot, John, next time. I'm going to force you to put in a bid.
Okay. Well, I know they're like you said, they're tempting. So
right.
Especially if you book it a year out, and or if you've made payment, or if you have if it's pretty much paid for, you're like, okay. But you see this question by Kyle. This is a good question.
It's a perfect kind of winding things down. I did see this. Go for it. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it cheaper to book your next cruise on the ship or not? So I know we've talked about this before. A lot of times it's you can book a cruise, or you can buy a deposit, right? And you can then transfer that to your agent. So you have like a credit. So you get like an onboard credit. Have you ever booked one on? So I don't know if I've answered the question, but there's different incentives to actually get like a deposit, where you put a deposit down for a future cruise. So I don't think you necessarily have to book a cruise, but you have a $200 onboard credit. But a lot of people do that because they get this booking credit, where they are basically say they're going to book a cruise, and then you get this onboard credit. Have you?
So the thing I would say is the price probably is not cheaper. So and now you can shop. Back in the day when there wasn't internet, and you went in and they had flyers and like, oh, we're running this promotion on the ship. For this sailing, it's this much. You couldn't really check it, but now you can just go on Celebrities, Royals, Norwegian's website, whatever it is, and they tell you the price of the ship. You can look it up. 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say those prices will be the same. What John's pointing out, the value comes in getting booking bonuses, I would say, right? Yeah. Whether it's onboard credit for that sailing, that sailing you book, say it's a year later, you always sail. My brother, we've done a couple cruises the last couple of years. We always go. So as an account, we go towards the end of our season in May or something. If you always go, you have your vacation set, you always go in May. You're on your cruise May, go into the cruise next office or next cruise, whatever the cruise line calls it. And like, I want to book a cruise in May, next May 24. And you look at the price, odds are the price is going to be about the same. What they might say is, well, we'll give you X amount of onboard credit for the May 24, and we'll give you an onboard credit for your bill on this ship. Or, as John mentioned, you could put a deposit down. It's like a certificate. Yeah. One of the best programs for a while was Virgin. I don't know if Virgin's still doing this, but you would give Virgin $300 deposit. It's good for, I think, 18 months, a year and a half. So that's a $300 deposit. You got $300 off whatever the next cruise was, regardless of the sale. And they give you a $300 onboard credit. So you give them $300, you're getting $900 worth of. But you had $300 onboard credit, $300 off, and that's your deposit. That's a sick deal. I took advantage of that deal. And now, Heidi, you got to book that. We got to book that cruise because it expires next year. But look at the deals, look at the promotions, and then if you don't have the internet on board, you just go on your next port of call. If you have Wi-Fi or something, just look. If you have a specific itinerary, if not, see what the voucher programs are. Because some cruise lines are a good deal, and some I would say aren't any better than what your travel agent might be able to get you back home.
That's what I'm thinking of. I was trying to think. Sorry, Kyle and Don. I was trying to think of one of these programs because everybody was pushing. I think it was with Princess at the time. So I don't claim to know all these programs off the top of my head, but there's things where a lot of times if you put $200 down, they give you $400 onboard credit, or something like that. They would like match whatever you put down to a credit or something like that. So you would basically pay you would actually get money. And there was a time frame, like I said, where you maybe had 2 years to book or whatever like that. And you could transfer, you could use your travel agent, but you have this certificate. So yeah, there's all these fancy marketing and vouchers and potential things. And of course they change and so on and so forth. So it's something to look into. And of course, once you're on board, they can educate you better than we can right now to what's possible at the time.
Yeah, and just keep in mind, some cruise lines have policies about switching sailings at certain dates. That's why, unless you know that particular ship or that sailing is going to work. Those vouchers or credits, each cruise line calls them something different, as John mentioned. I think those are better deals. Personally, they're more flexible. But sometimes if you're all in, like I want this specific ship, this, and they want to make the deal with you, you might be able to snag something that's a little bit lower rate. But the rates are pretty standard. The only time you see lower rates are group. If a travel agent has a group rate or someone sets up a group on a certain ship, that's when the fare itself might be lower. But the fares are pretty consistent. It's really what's the onboard credit? What's the perks you're going to give me? Like, what are some of the advantages there? And also just make sure you check whenever you book with a travel advisor or online or on a ship, check the refund policy. A lot of cruise lines have changed their refund policy in the last few years. I used to always say to Heidi, we'll just throw a deposit down because you can cancel up to 90 or 120 days before the cruise, right? It's not the case anymore with a lot of cruise lines. So check to see if it's a refundable versus non-refundable rate. Celebrity does it, Royal does it. I know Carnival, right? Carnival has a gazillion different rates, right? Super Saver, this Saver, that Saver.
And that's all you see as a consumer. The full list for all these cruise lines, like the full rate codes, sometimes are pages. You'd be surprised how many rates.
I wouldn't be because I see this stuff all the time. I'm always, as John mentioned, I love just looking at the rates and getting good deals. And we have friends who are travel advisors or love to cruise who just look at the rates every day, even if they don't have a customer or a client they're working with, just because they always are tracking things. So we're kind of nerdy when it comes to that.
Yeah.
And 9 times out of 10, you could look across multiple systems. Unless someone's got a group, which we actually took advantage of a group rate for this upcoming cruise, then the rates are going to be the same. It's like, what can you give me? What kind of perks? Free gratuities, especially dining credit, free Wi-Fi. Like, what are those programs and promotions which change? And that's where you're probably going to eke out some savings. So some great questions, John. We could talk about stuff all night.
Yeah, I tell you, this has been great. Thank you so much for asking all the great questions, everybody. Thank you for all the wonderful comments. I've seen this number. It's like, I think it was like 77 comments at one point. So really, really nice. Thank you for Heidi helping.
Yes, our producer.
Yeah,
Thank
wonderful
you.
Producer. Really nice.
John, where can people find you?
Right, I'm right here. Right here, right now.
So in a Viking living room.
Yeah. But when I'm not right here, if you want to visit me another time, you can visit me at my website, cruiseaddicts.com. If you'd like to visit my social media channels, YouTube, Instagram, it's at Cruise Addicts. Do all those wonderful things, reels and TikToks and all that great stuff. So thank you so much. And Don, how about yourself? Where can everyone find you?
Oh, wait, you do TikToks? I have to see those. I got to see John's. We'll do a dance challenge that no one watches. But thank John. What a great, it's like old versus new. Great segue. You can find Don, one half of Eat Sleep Cruise at Eat Sleep Cruise, or as our friend Matt likes to say, eatsleepcruise.com. He likes to add the .com there. So check us out here on YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, Instagram. I don't do dances. And if you have questions, you can always reach out to us on social media. And John, we'll see. We're going on a cruise I mentioned in 2 weeks. We leave actually a week from this Friday. I'll take that back.
Oh, wow.
When's your next trip?
I have nothing booked at the moment, but that could change at any minute.
That could change at any minute.
We've seen that, right? We've seen that. It's like, I'm going somewhere now. But where are you going to? I know you didn't tell me. I didn't get the email.
Oh, you didn't get the email? It was at the business meeting. You didn't get the meeting?
No,
So
Heidi
and I, we're very fortunate. I mentioned this so quick. We're doing Celebrity Beyond 11-night Mediterranean cruise. It's an anniversary cruise.
Oh, happy anniversary.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So we're super excited. It's been wicked hot it's been hot everywhere, but we're doing Italy, we're doing Greece, Turkey, some places bunch of ports we've never been to, but a few countries we've never been to. So we're excited, of course, at Eat Sleep Cruise, update live on social. And when we come back, obviously we'll have to do a Q&A about it, but we already started packing, you know us. So it's getting, I keep saying 2 weeks, but it's really like a week and a half. It's like 10-ish days, 9-ish days we leave. The cruise is, we're going a couple days early just for the time change and stuff.
Yeah, well, enjoy yourself and be safe traveling. And I know I can speak for everybody. We'll look forward to hearing all the details because that sounds amazing. And I know that those ships are incredible. So I can't wait to hear all about it and follow you on social media.
Thank you. Yeah, we're excited. We're excited. Edge Class, we never like to say what our favorite cruise line or cruise ship is, but the Edge Class, pretty nice. It's
Yeah.
very nice. So folks, check that out. If it's bigger ship, but they're very elegant and great dining. So yeah, we'll have plenty of live updates when we're there a week and a half.
Awesome. Well, I guess until then we get back together. I hope everybody's safe and be safe traveling wherever you are, and have a good night. Thanks.
Yes, thanks everyone. Have a good one.